Hey, welcome to Fit Life Coaching. My name is Andrea. I literally just recorded the best video on this topic, and of course, it didn't record, so here I am to try again. I essentially wanted to talk about how our thoughts really create our reality. We hear this all the time, and it sounds a little mystical, right? Manifestation, and is it real, and this, and that, and we've all heard about affirmations and we've all heard about how our thoughts shape our reality. But I want to dive just a little bit deeper into that and break it down a little more as to why our thoughts actually do really create our reality. So let's say we have a belief. Let's say our belief is that we're never picked for the team, or we're never the girl that's asked to the dance, or we're always the ones that are left out. So now translate that into an older adult, that belief may still stand there for you. And so how does it affect you in your life today? Well, our belief, essentially, they create our thoughts. And thoughts are habitual. Understand that. Understand that we have thought patterns that we consistently go round and round about, especially if you're an overthinker. And that those patterns are really kind of shaping how we feel in certain moments, right? So when we enter a situation that feels familiar to us, we're going to have a thought pattern associated with that feeling, right? So our thoughts are essentially creating our feelings on any given subject, right? Whether it's anxiety in social situations, that is just a thought pattern that you have that is eliciting those feelings in you when you get into those situations. So our feelings are going to directly affect the actions we are willing to take or not take, right? So let's follow this through. Let's take a salesperson. A salesperson that believes that they are really good at their job and believes that they are capable of selling and believes that they always get the sale, they're going to have thoughts that align to that belief. And they're also going to have feelings that align to that belief. And in doing so, they're going to then take actions that align to that belief, to that identity that they have of themselves. We could take it in the reverse way, right? If you don't believe that you're a good salesperson, you're going to have thoughts that essentially align to that belief. Those thoughts are going to create feelings in you, and those feelings are going to directly impact the actions you're willing to take or not take. So for the successful salesperson, they're going to act. They're going to go and they're going to introduce themselves and they're going to schmooze and they're going to do the cold calls and they're going to encourage themselves day after day to make those cold calls, even though they might get hung up on 60 times, but they're still going to take the action. Whereas the person who doesn't believe that they're good at salespeople, who has the thought of why would anybody want to do business with me and blah, 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 blah. And there's so many other better, salespeople out there than me and da, 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 da. They're going to have feelings that align to that thought, to those beliefs. And their actions are going to show up as resistance. They're going to resist making those cold calls. They're going to resist putting themselves out there. They're going to resist the actions necessary to have a different outcome. And there you go. That's the chain of events. That's how our beliefs create our thoughts, create our feelings, create our actions, which directly are going to impact our outcomes. So when you can go to a core belief and start to understand where it came from, or even, I don't even think you necessarily have to go back to a core belief, but I'm not saying you shouldn't. If you can just start to have different thoughts, if you can just start to interrupt your thought pattern to create new thoughts, you will then create new feelings, which will directly impact the actions you're willing to take. And sometimes action is the way to start, because sometimes if you're willing to take actions, your confidence can build in a way that will definitely change your thought patterns and change your feelings. We can do affirmations to change our thought patterns. One of the things that works best in changing your thought patterns, in my opinion, and this is nothing new, is to interrupt the thought pattern. You have to understand that our patterns flow almost like water, where they're just habitual. It's just the same thought over and over. And so if you can interrupt that pattern that you're continually having, what ends up happening is eventually you have different thoughts, different feelings, and different actions, different outcomes. So, years ago, if you were a smoker, they would tell you to wear a rubber band around your wrist, and every time you felt like smoking, you would snap the rubber band. Well, essentially what you're doing is you're disrupting that thought pattern. That's all that is. And the thought will eventually just stop going there. You're retraining your brain to no longer have that thought pattern. And so the more and more you can interrupt an old thought pattern, the more and more you can implant a new thought pattern. That's where things like anchoring in a thought can be helpful, right? So like some people will tug at their ear to anchor in the thought of, I'm really good at sales, right? And they'll take this little thing that anchors in that thought. The brain knows that movement is associated with that thought. That's another way to change thought patterns. Another way to change thought patterns is to just simply observe the patterns you're having and start to dismiss them. Start to just say, wow, that's interesting. What an interesting thought. Wonder where that came from. And move on from it. Don't link the emotion to it, right? Because if you could stop linking the emotion to it, then you can also start to slowly change your actions. You'll no longer be in that thought, emotion, non-action. You can move from thought, dismiss, new emotion, because now you can implant something new into that place. And then you could take more actions that align to this new pattern or new belief you're trying to create. So it's not as simple as it just thinking like, oh, I want a Mercedes. Okay, great. We live in this world of manifestation where people believe that it is that simple. And not saying that manifesting doesn't exist in the sense like I've thought things that have come true that shouldn't have come true. So I've had moments like that too. But when it comes to who you are day to day, how you identify yourself, how you structure your day and your patterns and your actions to align to the life you're trying to create, you have to kind of combat all of them at once, right? So you have to change the belief, to change the thought, to create the new feeling, to create the new action that aligns to the new identity that you would like to create. I hope that all made sense. If you need help diving into this anymore, any deeper to kind of see what your patterns are, you can look at the Dropbox below. All of my information on how to work with me is down there, and have a nice day. Thanks.